Hello, my name's Lizzie. I'm Anglican. In 4 months' time, I'm going to be moving into a convent ready to become a postulant. And here is a question for you. Who are your top five role models? Not including Jesus himself, but yeah, top five role models. I think, like off the top of my head, mine would be Therese of Lisieux, um, Mother Teresa, Pope Francis, Dorothy Day, and my top one, who this video is going to be about, is, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, Pier Giorgio Frassati. So let me tell you a bit about one of my favourite people ever.
I will hold your people in my heart.
Right, Pier Giorgio Frassati lived in Italy, I'm pretty sure, in the 1920s or around that. Well, that's when he died. So like, yeah, 1910s, 1920s. But he actually died when he was 24. Yeah. And he, what I love about him was he was just a normal young Christian. He was Roman Catholic, and I just love the way that he balanced having a really deep prayer life, especially one that was very centered around the Eucharist. Like he'd go to Mass every day or as many days as he could, and he'd sometimes spend like even overnight praying in front of the Blessed Sacrament. Um, but at the same time, he led a, like, to people that knew him, he looked like he just led a very ordinary life. Like he wasn't very like showy about his prayer life or anything. And so he just came across as like this normal young man in the community, although he was from a family that was quite well known, and so he had a quite a privileged background because his dad owned a newspaper. But he spent a lot of time just literally just hanging out with his friends, and one of his big hobbies was just being outdoors and mountain climbing. So he just spent a lot of time, yeah, often combining the two, like going out with his friends on like mountain climbing expeditions and stuff. But in amongst that, he would try to like encourage his friends spiritually as well. But he didn't come across as one of these sort of really overly religious kind of people, which I love. And also, he spent a lot of time kind of quite secretly just helping a lot of poor individuals in his community, just with whatever pocket money he had or just whatever he could do to help. And not many people knew that he was doing all these things during his life. It was when they had his funeral, because I think he got tuberculosis, was it? I think that killed him. Oh, sorry, polio. And people think he probably contracted that from mixing, or it's like spending so much time alongside the poor in his town helping them. But yeah, loads of people turned out for his funeral, and it was only after he died that people realised just how much he'd been helping people secretly in the community. So I love how he blended, yeah, like deep prayer life with just hanging out with friends and being a normal young person and just enjoying life as a normal young person, and also being very caring of individuals in his community. Oh, and the other thing was he was very active in the whole kind of local or even national like political scene as well. And all those things are the kinds of things that I've felt drawn to for quite a few years now, and I like the way that he's got them in this really nice, you see a really nice balance of all these things in his life. And the fact that he was young and died young means that he's quite a role model for younger Christians. So discovering him a few years ago and reading about him has been really helpful to me, because he wasn't a he didn't go into religious life like fully. He was a lay Dominican, but he didn't sort of become like a formal monk or friar or something. And he did consider becoming a priest, but then he felt called to live like alongside the poor and the ordinary people in a more profound way he felt that you're able to do as a priest, like even just simple things like going around their homes and spending time with them. Yeah, he just felt that actually if he became a priest it would actually cause a bit of a barrier to the kind of solidarity with the poor that he felt called to. And again, that really resonates with me and with my own experiences of why for me becoming a priest didn't quite feel right, and for quite similar reasons as well. So I really liked him because he exemplified everything that I would like to aspire to be as a Christian, and just goes to show that you can be a very sincere and active Christian without having a formal label of priest or monk or nun or whatever. That he was a lay Christian, and yet he's become a huge role model and inspiration for millions of people. So going back to his prayer life and his spiritual life, again, there are lots of things about his life that really resonate with me, like the very fact that he was Roman Catholic, and I'm more sort of Catholic side of Church of England, and the fact that Eucharist was so central to him, and it seems like contemplative prayer and the slightly more like mystical prayer side of Christianity would seem to also be part of his life. So the very fact that in his life you see this more contemplative, mystical, Eucharist-centered prayer life and spiritual life combining with more kind of urban political issues, that combination also like really resonates with me. And then just going back to what I've said in previous videos recently, the very fact that he didn't come across as this overly religious, out of touch person at all, and he was just like a normal young person that just enjoyed being with his friends. It goes back to what I was saying in a recent video about how this was how Jesus came across to his contemporaries, just like a normal, fun-loving young person who had a profound prayer life, but also had time to spend with people, just chatting, going to parties, all that. So in my mind, this young man's one of the best examples of living out Jesus' kind of prayer life, social life, social concern life as well, but in a more contemporary setting. So if you haven't heard of him, go Google Shining, go Google him.